Okay, hi. Hello, everyone. So we are on week 22 now, and this is all about revision. The reason it's all about revision is that we are not learning anything new at all. You'll be really pleased to hear. We are stopping at question 4. The exam. We've had some more guidance from the exam board on how to assess you, as we're not having the formal exams. And the exam board have said we can stop teaching now and assess you on what has happened so far. So we have got up to paper 2, question 4. We've done all of paper 1 and we've done paper 2 up to question 4. So we're stopping now, nothing new to learn. So hooray, exciting. So this week we're going to go back over question 4 on paper 2. This caused a few problems. It always does, don't worry. So we'll be running through how to do that. We're going to prepare you for the assessments that are coming up after Easter. And you're going to set yourself some targets and an action plan to help you manage those assessments. And we're going to be discussing the speaking and listening element of the exam as well. Please watch this video to the end. There'll be places where you have to pause and do some tasks. Please come back to it and watch it. Don't just go straight into the assignments and do them. There's some really valuable information on this video, as there always is. So, good. We're going to look first of all at question 4 on boats, which, as you know, we did before half term. And the question was, compare how the writers convey their different perspectives and feelings about their experiences at sea. This is a really tricky question because you're being assessed on 4 different things. At some point, please watch the question 4 video that I did. I'll put it in the classroom again for this week. That just explains exactly in great detail how to answer this question. But first, I'm going to go through question 4 in relation to boats a little bit, just to help you. So the question is, what are their different perspectives and feelings? And this is the core of the question, really. Is what are those feelings and perspectives? How do those writers feel about their experiences at sea? How do they view the situation that they're in? The exam might also ask you about attitudes and viewpoints. They're pretty much the same thing. They're trying to get you to put yourself in the skin of those writers and really understand what their perspectives, what their viewpoints are. How do they feel? How do they think? Is it, you might start with, is it a positive experience? Is it a negative experience? But then you need to go on from that. And also, how do their experiences change? They might start off feeling fairly positive and then things go horribly wrong. Anyway, so if you think about the boats one, here we've got Ben Fogle, the lovely Ben, on his boat in happier times before he got stuck in a storm. And I couldn't find any pictures of the guy in source B who was called William Hudson, but I imagine he's one of these people here on this old Victorian steamship, which is having a terrible time. So think about these 2 people. Remember, Ben Fogle, William Hudson. What are their perspectives? How are they viewing? How are they feeling about their experiences at sea? In the first instance, just step back and ask yourself that question. I would argue here that Fogle is quite complacent to start off with. He thinks everything's okay. He's got quite an active role in his own destiny, really, because he's in charge of the ship. He's got a lot of faith in his boat to start off with anyway. He's quite isolated. He's quite on his own. He's quite scared. He's quite desperate. In the end, he's quite relieved. So his perspective changes quite a lot. Compare them with Mr. Hudson, who I think is also quite calm at the beginning, where Ben is very active in sorting out his own problems. Hudson's quite helpless. He's kind of accepting of what's happening to him, because don't forget, he's got no real control. He's just a passenger. Fogle's got a lot of faith in his boat. He thinks it's a great boat, brand spanking new. Whereas Hudson doesn't really trust his boat very much. He thinks it's a bit old and rubbish. Fogle's quite isolated, him and his ship, his fellow sailor are on their own in the middle of the sea, where, of course, Hudson is surrounded by others, crew and passengers. Fogle's very fearful at certain points. I'd say Hudson is also fearful, also a bit cowardly because he tries to save himself, as he very openly says. I just thought about how I could save myself and get off the ship. Fogle is desperate at times. I think some of you noticed this. I think Hudson is actually rather composed and focused throughout. Weirdly, he doesn't seem to panic or get desperate. At the end, of course, Fogle is very relieved to be saved. He says, "Thank God," and whatever. Hudson is very hopeful he is going to be saved, and also quite determined that he's going to be saved. So I think there's some things there. We've got the different perspectives, and also if we look across, I think we can really start to look at things we can actually compare. Fogle is isolated, whereas Hudson is surrounded by others. Fogle has great faith in his boat. He really trusts his boat, whereas Hudson doesn't trust his boat. So you're kind of looking for things within those perspectives that you can compare. So you only need to take a few of those. You haven't got to compare absolutely everything. So you need to compare these perspectives and add evidence. So here I'm taking the point about Fogle having a lot of faith in his boat. So I've put in Saussay, Fogle has great faith in his boat and at the beginning feels hopeful about it being able to cope with the seas, saying his boat is brand spanking new and coped incredibly well so far. On the other hand, Hudson doesn't really trust his boat's ability to cope in a gale and says it's much damaged and throbbing like an overworked human heart. So what I've done here is I've taken those perspectives, I've compared them, and I've added evidence from the text. So I put in some little bits from the text that really support my argument that Fogle's got great faith in his boat and Hudson doesn't think his boat is very good. So that's three things there I'll be marked on. I'll be marked on finding the perspectives, which I've done. I'll be marked on comparing the perspectives, which I've done. And I'll be marked on adding evidence. Now, the fourth thing, of course, as you will have remembered, is methods. Have I commented on the methods? No, I haven't. So I'm going to rectify that here. So I'm just going to build on this. I've compared the perspectives here, and one of the pieces of evidence I've used to compare this perspective is saying throbbed like an overworked human heart. So what I'm going to do is just comment on that a little bit more. I think this is, I'm going to comment on that as a method. So I'm saying this simile, so I've already got the simile here. I'm pointing out that it's a simile, shows that Hudson sees it as something frail, reaching the end of its life and therefore unable to cope with the treacherous conditions. So I've, I spelt therefore wrong. Sorry, there should be an E on that. But anyway, so I've just said a little bit about the methods used. I could have said a bit more, but that's what I've said. You haven't got to do that for every single point that you make, but you must do it, say, a couple of times at least in each answer. If a method isn't jumping out at you, you can't do it, but try and find a couple of methods to comment on within each answer in question, within question 4. Okay, so now what I want you to do is read the student answers and complete the assignment. They're all in one block this week. We're not doing the quiz because everyone kept getting them wrong and feeling really sad. So what I'm asking you to do this time is just read the student answer to question 4 and make some comments on it at the end. And after each one, please watch the video that gives you the actual examiner's marks, because that's the important bit, getting your head around what the examiner wants. I'm just going to skip forward one slide. In the assignment, I ask you to highlight various elements of the text. The highlighter tool is just up here. It's like a little pen. So do try and do that. If you can't, if it's too difficult, ask us for help. See what we can do. So please return to this video after you've completed those assignments because there's much more important stuff to come. Okay. So we're going to talk a little bit now about the upcoming assessments. We haven't finalised all the details, but we do know there will be some assessments the first few weeks after Easter. We will be issuing a better timetable soon. We're still waiting for a little bit of clarification from the exam board. The first assessment will be paper 2, questions 1 to 4, which is what you've just done. So you should be well prepared for that. You'll be coming into class in your normal class time. We'll be giving you some directions. We might have to stagger you coming in because of COVID and social distancing, but we'll get back to you with more details. What you need to know now is that the first week after Easter, we will be looking at paper 2, questions 1 to 4. So in order to prepare for that, what I want you to do is add up your scores in questions 1 to 4 of the boats assessment that you did before half term. When you've added up those scores of questions 1 to 4, put it in an assignment. It's not assignment 1, actually, to be perfect. It's assignment 1, 2, 3, 4. Put it into assignment 4. And look at the questions you've done worst on in paper 2. And then really think about what you need to do to improve. If you don't understand what you need to do to improve, please ask me, and I'll try and clarify. And then you need to complete a short action plan, which is also in assignment 4, not assignment 1, as I've said there. As I said, if you don't understand your feedback, please ask. So could you please now add up your scores for questions 1, 2, 3, 4, for the boat question, and put them in that assignment, and make yourself an action plan, and then come back to the video. Okay, so hopefully now you've got your action plan in place. What we would like you to do now is watch every video again on how to answer questions 1 to 4 in on paper 2. Actually, we haven't got one for question 1, so you can't do that, but you can watch questions 2 to 4 on paper 2. And then we're going to ask you to do a whole reading paper, questions 1 to 4, on surfers. Well, you've done elements of surfers before, so one of the questions you'll be repeating, but that's absolutely fine. Repeating questions is a really good way to learn. I think you did question 2 on surfers. We're not going to have time to mark them all thoroughly, but please do ask us if you would like us to look at a particular question, and we'll be dipping in and out of your answers over the coming weeks in an attempt to support you. So I'm not quite sure how long all this is going to take you, but I'm imagining that this is now going to be homework. And I would set yourself surfers under timed conditions, so you will have an hour to answer this in the real exam. If you have extra time, of course, add that on accordingly. Okay, so the final thing we want to talk about is the speaking and listening assessment. Think carefully. Do you need to do this? Not trying to discourage you at all, but do remember it will not affect your final result. So if this is going to cause you, this is going to take you a lot of time to do, and it's going to cause you lots of grief, you haven't got to do it. What we've decided to do, given the new timetable, is to let you record yourself on a phone or whatever and send the talk in to us. We'll give you more details about how to do that next week. Please no more than 8 minutes. And we may well contact you with questions afterwards. If it's not possible for you to record yourself speaking and you'd still like to do it, let us know. Don't do it yet. Don't start your recordings yet, because we're going to give you more details on how to do it. But we're just letting you know how we think we're going to assess this. Okay, so hopefully that is useful. We are here to help, remember, and we will be in touch. We're looking forward to reading your action plans, and we will be giving you some feedback on those over the next week or so. Okay, take care. See you next week.